Krtiny is a small village that nestles in an idyllic valley in the Moravian Karst, or the limestone area north of Brno. It has less than 1,000 inhabitants, and yet it is a special place, as is the entire valley. You see, it is the location of a major Earth energy node, where the two currents of the Templar line cross, along with at least 3 other major Type 4 and several smaller Earth energy lines. The node is quite strong, and I do suspect it has had a strong influence on the human history of the area for quite some time. Krtiny is first mentioned in 1237 in a deed of Pope Gregory IX, and so it must have existed prior to that time. Today it is marked by a magnificent church, the Church of the Name of the Virgin Mary. It is also an important pilgrimage site and one of the most celebrated shrines in Central Europe. The current building was designed by the famous architect Jan Santini Eichel, built as part of a complex of monastic buildings and summer residences for the Brno Abbey, of which more later. Santini received the commission in 1711 under the patronage of the then Bishop of Olomouc, Maximilian Hamilton, and the abbot, whose palace lies just behind the church. However, the entire valley is steeped in religious and spiritual history. Even the name Krtiny is believed to have originated from the verb to baptize, and the legends have it that in this, the Valley of Baptism, Saints Cyril and Methodius and their disciples were themselves baptized, thus making it the birthplace of Slavic Christianity. Saint Cyril and Methodius went on to found the Slavic Christian Church and are rightly seen as the fathers of Slavic Christianity. The church that we see today was founded by the Premonstratensian order. The nuns of this order had a monastery in Brno that was founded in 1209 and was part of a rich holding of lands that included Krtiny. At that time, Krtiny was hidden in the deep depths of a massive forest and was almost uninhabited save for some local ironworks. And here is where things get interesting. After founding the monastery in Brno, another was built at Krtiny in around 1210, next to an existing church. Since that time, it has been destroyed and rebuilt several times, first when the Tatar army invaded in 1241 and again in 1423 by the Hussites. Legend says that many of the nuns were murdered by the Hussite army and their remains buried on the site. 3 managed to escape into the forests and back to Brno. Some of the monuments in the valley that we'll see later are dedicated to these nuns. However, to add to the mystery, there are no documents to prove any of this ever happened, and some rumours that in fact it's all a myth created in the 17th century. What is certain, though, is that the Brno monastery existed, and that held property in Krtiny in 1237. Indulgences were also granted to the Krtiny church in 1299, and it is again mentioned in records in 1321. Now, it actually seems like there were 2 churches on this site. As mentioned previously, a church existed there prior to the monastery or convent, and then a new church, called the German Church, was also built there, for that convent. A small Romanesque church existed first, and it is often referred to as the Czech Church. It was also known as the Church of the Miracle Image, or the Miraculous Virgin Mary. It was in it that a miraculous statue of the Virgin Mary of Krtinska was exhibited to pilgrims for worship for centuries. That is why this simple village church was much more popular with pilgrims than the much larger Gothic church called German. The 2 churches persisted until the 17th century with complex and only partially known histories. By the 17th century, Krtiny had become an important pilgrimage site, with over 7,000 pilgrims recorded in 1658. In May 1676, there were over 14,000 of them on a single day, and over 38,000 for the whole of 1713. Since the middle of the 18th century, 50 to 60,000 of them have been recorded here in individual years. The German church was in disrepair at this time, and so when a benefactor came forward, the current masterpiece of architecture was designed and partially built. It still comprises two churches as well. Not only does this site have a confusing and obscure history, but the reason for it becoming a site of pilgrimage also seems opaque. According to a legend, this statue of the Virgin Mary standing on the main altar of the pilgrimage church in Krtiny was found in a bush. It was found in a bush during a storm in a nearby village called Bukovina. It was said to have been brought there by a messenger of God, either an angel or lightning, during the Byzantine iconoclasm in the 8th–9th century. The cult of the Virgin Mary Krtynska, which is attributed with a number of miraculous healings, reached its peak in the 17th and 18th centuries, and you can see the statue in the video right now. For me, this raises some interesting parallels with another Marian site of devotion at Hostin. Indeed, as soon as you step inside the main church, things seem odd. Where the two Templar currents pass through the church, there are symbols of the all-seeing eye on one line and of the sun on the other. The statue of Mary is stood on a crescent moon and resembles a pagan goddess, possibly Merkosh, the mother goddess. Above her is a space that is shaped like a horned god and looks for all the world like Veles, the Slavic god of the underworld. He peers out over the node which is located in front of the statue where the lines of energy cross. There is a strange Slavic aspect to this church and its imagery, and even the story that the statue was brought by lightning, the weapon choice of the Slavic god Perun, the sky god, appears to signify an ongoing nod to the Slavic paganism that Slavic Christianity indeed subsumed. Oral tradition further credits the place with an appearance of the Virgin Mary of Krtiny in 1210, among the blossoms from a horse chestnut tree in nearby Bukovinka, adding to the mystery. It is this that is alluded to in the many pictures inside the church. Whatever the true history, the church is truly worth visiting. It's magnificent, filled with artwork and murals, some of it Christian, some of it not. Just to the south of the church is an interesting walk on the side of the hill down the valley. Along this pathway, this footpath, there are many, many crosses dedicated to certain aspects of Christianity. However, dowsing these crosses and the pathway shows that many of the lines, the energy lines coming into the church, actually pass through this walkway as well. Indeed, as I said earlier, the entire valley is littered with stations of the cross, isolated crosses and monuments dedicated to the nuns that reputedly were murdered, and also to various aspects of the Marian devotion that takes place in this valley. Of course, the church itself is situated on a slight rise, and it also features stations of the cross. It shares many similarities with other sites of Templar nodes in this part of the world, in Moravia, and it is an important and energetic place to visit. To the east of the church, there are many other crosses sited in various locations, and each one appears to have been placed on a feminine or negative type 4 energy line, either coming into the church or passing close by to it. The lines travel northwards, up the valley, and then bend around back to the east and continue travelling east towards Kromejish. Krtiny is a place that, should you come to Moravia, is well worth a visit. Natural beauty is astounding, but the spiritual energy of the place is simply amazing. Please do like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.